Hey there, Paladins fans, my name is Gormizer, and welcome to a prediction video for week 1 of the PPL. I'll be doing this every single week for the PPL, and I'm aiming to get it out at about an hour before the PPL starts, where we're going to look at this week's matches, and I'm going to try to give in-depth analysis while not letting the video go on too long. I actually already did a recording for this one, and it'll be in about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and try to shrink this one down to something a little bit more manageable. So we're going to go ahead and start off with day number 1, game number 1, which is going to be Fnatic versus Ninjas in Pajamas. And of course, if you look on the left, Fnatic is pretty much going to be starting the exact same roster you have seen them with for the past couple of splits. Undefeated online, which is a very important stat to have pretty much throughout all of this. And I think that one's going to be the key that we hold on to, since this is week 1 and we haven't gotten to see how 1.4 changes and what the other teams have been able to do to their rosters will affect Fnatic. Whereas on the other side, Ninjas in Pajamas are going to be picking up Koa and Cruncy here, as well as Diggy Dog finally being on here for main roster. That was something that happened in the summer, but this time he finally gets the full split to his name as long as nothing goes wrong, and he stays there the entire time. And even though I think this is actually going to be a very dominant team, and definitely because you're looking at the top 3 spots instead of just the top 2, I think they have a very good chance. But again, the stat you need to look at is Fnatic undefeated online as of right now, so I'm leaning a little bit more in favor of them. I'm going to go ahead and give them the win overall for this just because of that stat, but I'm excited to see what NIP are going to be able to do, and that actually leads us to the next match, which is going to be NIP versus Mouse. And this one is going to be a lot more interesting to me because Mouse as well is picking up 2 new players. They actually lost Koa, who is now going to be playing for NIP. With the addition of these 2 players, I'm curious as to how Mouse Sports is going to do, but again, you're looking at growing pains for both of these teams, and so you have to look at the core members, the people that are still there after those additions, to see who's going to be stronger overall. And honestly, with Diggy, Bird, and Bonker, I feel like NIP have that strength just over Mouse that I think they're going to be a lot more solidified. Add in the fact that Koa is already a PPL veteran, has already played online in the PPL. It's not going to be that big of a change for him. It's going to be more, how is your teamwork going with NIP, as opposed to, you are in the Premier League now, how are you going to play? Bolka, Alex, Cruncy are both going to have those growing pains of how do we perform in the league for the first time. So Mouse, I'm excited to see what they have, but I'm going to have to give this one over to NIP up until I can see what Mouse has to offer. Going into Wednesday, it's going to be North America. SK Gaming will be having a doubleheader. And again, if you look on the left, you'll see G2 having the exact same roster that you saw successful at LAN, well, semi-successful at LAN last time. And SK are going to have changed. They picked up Dethroner and Payan. I believe I'm saying that right. The way things are going with this, SK was looking pretty solid on certain maps, but they always had just these small slips, these small trips every single time they tried to accomplish something. This is going to be a matchup that, again, I think they can prove themselves. I think they can have a much better showing than they had throughout the entire summer, but I don't see them actually being able to win it. It's going to go to G2 in my eyes, just because, again, undefeated online and a roster that has been sticking together. Veteranship overall has G2 just winning this set. But I'm excited to see what SK has to offer, especially, again, going into the second game, which is going to be up against Renegades, who, again, are keeping themselves the same as we've seen in the past. And now that Moonchopper's got a full split under his belt playing with these guys, Viral Hero, ClickU, Loki. A lot of people on Renegades that I think have been looking phenomenal through the last split. This is going to be the time for SK to be able to win. I don't know if I would call this a must-win match, but I would definitely say that if SK can win this set, it is going to be a much different North America than we have seen so far this year. And SK will put themselves finally on the map and on track potentially for 3rd place. Renegades is one of the teams you're going to have to take down because they have been vying for 2nd this entire year. They have been nipping at the heels of Envy. So if you can take them down here as SK, that opens a much bigger door for you than if you lose this set. That being said, with the way things have been going in the past, I don't know if they're going to have what it takes. This is going to be a good week to get a feel for them. They definitely need to win it if they want to feel comfortable as SK, but I have a strong feeling that it's going to be going the way of Renegades, and they're going to be able to take the full set. So now we'll move on to Thursday. Once again in Europe, Nodus, Vincier, Navi going to be going up for a doubleheader, and the first one's up against Fnatic. And we always get these good matchups. There's 2 of them between the top 2 seeds that we've seen throughout the entire year at this point, where Fnatic always seems to take the online games, Navi always seems to take the games on LAN, and when it comes down to it, the first set of every single split seems to go on the longest, all the way to 5 games with a lot of 4-3s. I expect this one to follow the same path. The big question is, Is Fnatic feeling shaken from this last LAN? Is Na'Vi feeling confident online? Those are going to be the things that really make the big factor. And honestly, the thing that splits the hair for me on this one, since someone has to win, is that I'm going to give it over to Fnatic. And it is simply because online history between these two teams, no matter what, it always seems to go towards Fnatic. So I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Again, this is the time for Na'Vi to showcase what they are capable of, and for Fnatic to potentially showcase whether or not they still are going to be sitting at the top. I mean, no matter what, they've been undefeated all year, but they still have not been able to get a LAN win. Na'Vi are the current international champions when it comes down to it. So even if they lose here, it doesn't mean too much. So I'm curious to see how this set goes, but I don't know if it's going to make a big difference overall. The second one will be Na'Vi versus a new Virtus Pro. That's right, another new Virtus Pro. Elven Path still here. Perdo and Sheepa, a bunch of names you might recognize since you've been watching the PPL, moving from NIP now to Virtus Pro, and Ninu and Seritz going to be joining them as well. I'm curious to see what this roster is going to have, but let's be honest, it's a new 4 members. Even if you have 3 veterans from the PPL, all on a new roster, going up against Na'Vi, I don't even know if there's much more to delve into for this set. There's not a lot of meat on the bone here to look at. It's going to be Na'Vi being able to take this. Virtus Pro now, I think, might have a little bit more of a chance of taking points, might be able to get some control. It might not be a 3-0 with 4-0s every single map, but I don't think it's going to be pretty for them. I don't think this is going to be the time they come out and shine. This is looking like a Na'Vi game pretty much through and through. Now, on to the last day, and I had mentioned it a little bit earlier, we always get these matches at the very beginning, and this time we get G2 versus Envy. Now, this one's going to be a little different. The last time these two went up against each other at the beginning of a split, Rock Monkey wasn't there for Envy, and honestly, that made it so much easier for G2 to just destroy them. It was not even a contest. It's something we were all looking forward to, but once you lose your main damage player like that, it is not at all the same. So, being able to come forward with this, I expect something incredibly similar to what I had said with Na'Vi and Fnatic. This set probably going to go the distance, 4 or 5 games, probably going to have some 4-3s in there, and I'm going to have to give this one overall the score mainly on history, online as well as the way things have tended to shift. G2 is going to be able to take the win on this set, not only because of history, but also because I think a couple of the 1.4 changes are in their favor. I think it fits their playstyle as well as, I mean, they buff supports. This is a team that loves playing supports and playing around new supports, and I think Envy have what it takes to try some of that new stuff out, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to adapt in time for this set to deal with G2. In future weeks, I think it's going to be a completely different story for Team Envy, but as it is right here, I feel like G2 is going to be able to get the best of them. That being said, they're going to be able to use whatever they learn in this set and immediately apply that to Splyce. Now, Splyce was a team during this last split that we came into it and no one really knew what to expect, mainly because no one knew what roster they were going to be able to have. They picked up an old PGS team, they run it together. G-Bunny joined them as well after they lost Ozone, and now Splyce was kind of lackluster once again until the end. Then we started seeing what I would say is a full fleshed out team, and that's what I really wanted to see. Splyce were looking comfortable with each other, comfortable in the Premier League, and comfortable even though they were playing up against admittedly these big names that when you see them on the opposing team in ranked, if you see them on the opposing team in a scrim, no matter what, you know you're up against a strong team. Envy is not a team to scoff at, so they will know this. Do I think that's going to make a big difference? I don't think Splyce is going to be able to come through and win this entire set. I think Envy are going to be able to control this pretty much every single step of the way, but I think it is very important to note that because Splyce has been looking good, I don't think it will be as easy for Envy. I still think it's going to be a 3-0, but I don't think it's going to be 4-0s every single step of the way. I think we have a lot more to expect from the Splyce roster, and when it comes to going up against SK, when it comes to going against Renegades, and honestly, towards the end of it, maybe even G2 and Envy, I think this team is someone to look out. They're my personal dark horse for this split, someone who might be able to sneak in that third place spot and be able to come to LAN, and that would be phenomenal for these guys, but unfortunately, this is not the set to start it off. Envy are going to be the ones who overall win this one. So once again, just to recap the week, it's only 8 matches, so there's not a whole lot to go through. Fnatic I have winning over NIP, again, undefeated online until proven otherwise. NIP have it over Mouse just because their roster has a lot more veteranship, especially in the Premier League, than what we're seeing out of Mouse so far. G2 being able to win over SK, not only is SK bringing in new members, but also G2 is undefeated online until proven otherwise. And then again, SK versus Renegades, Renegades winning over SK just because veteranship is going to beat the new players, in my opinion. Moving into Europe for Thursday, it was Fnatic being able to beat Na'Vi, but this is a match to watch. Absolutely do not miss this one because it could go either way, but I'm personally going to put my money onto Fnatic, and then Na'Vi versus Virtus Pro. Unless you are insane, I don't see how Na'Vi could lose this one. 2 new players as well as 2 players moving into this roster. It is a completely reformed Virtus Pro. I just don't know what control they have. Envy versus G2, I'm going to give the win to G2. This is another one that could go pretty much either way, but G2 has a history of being able to take this set, and then Envy beating Splice out, because Splice, even though they've been able to pick up a couple wins, I think their targets are a little bit lower in the bracket overall. Envy is not quite the ones they can take down yet. By the end of the split, though, expect this matchup to be a little bit closer. Well, that's going to be it for this week's predictions. Again, we're going to use whatever actually happens this week, which will be starting, you can tune in 3 p.m. Tuesday through Friday, live.skillshot.com, and check out whichever games you really want to watch. You can see it's going to be 2 sets every single day. You're going to get to see a lot of these teams this week, and we're going to use whatever we see to make these judgments. Again, for next week's matches, what's going to change? Do you have different opinions? Do you think there's a team that I'm overlooking just because they happen to have reformed? Or do you think that this is going to be pretty much solid? Leave a comment below, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.